This week, the crypto market refused to pick a direction. Bitcoin drifted lower, while BNB quietly outshone everyone with a 5.1% surge. But the real story? Athena, pudgy penguins, and Bitcoin all trending at once, signaling capital hunting for the next narrative. Let's break down exactly what happened and what it means for your portfolio. Welcome back to Aurelian Wealth, and what a fascinating week it's been in the crypto markets, ending July 31st, 2026. The overall picture was one of consolidation rather than conviction, with the major assets pulling in different directions. Bitcoin dipped 1.1% over the 7-day window to settle at $63,197, showing mild weakness that dragged on sentiment. Ethereum, however, held firm with a small 1.0% gain to 1,874 ETH, hinting at relative strength. The clear standout was BNB, rallying 5.1% to 588.86 cents and outperforming the entire top tier. Stablecoins USDT and USDC remained perfectly pegged at $1, reflecting stable liquidity conditions with no signs of panic or flight to safety. Overall, this was a slightly bearish to neutral week for Bitcoin, but a rotation story elsewhere as capital sought out relative outperformers like BNB. Bitcoin dominance likely ticked slightly lower given BNB and ETH's outperformance. With trending tokens Athena, Bitcoin, and pudgy penguins all grabbing attention, traders were clearly looking beyond the majors. It was a week defined by rotation, patience, and positioning, rather than dramatic breakouts. Let's zoom in on Bitcoin, the king of crypto, which had a subdued week closing at $63,197, down 1.1% over the past 7 days, and off 2.5% in the last 24 hours alone. That late-week softness dragged the weekly performance into negative territory after what had been a fairly range-bound stretch. Bitcoin spent much of the week oscillating in a tight band, unable to reclaim momentum above key resistance, while finding buyers on dips near support. The 2.5% daily decline suggests some short-term profit-taking and a cautious mood heading into the weekend. What's notable is that despite the price slipping, Bitcoin remained one of the top trending assets this week, showing that interest and attention are still firmly intact even when price stalls. There were no dramatic catalysts driving this move. Instead, it was a classic consolidation phase, with traders awaiting macro clarity and fresh flows. For long-term holders, a 1.1% weekly move is essentially noise. The key takeaway: Bitcoin is coiling, and the next decisive move, up or down, could set the tone for the entire market in coming weeks. Ethereum quietly outperformed Bitcoin this week, posting a 1.0% 7-day gain to close at $1,074.05, even as it slipped 2.3% in the last 24 hours. While that daily dip mirrors the broader market softness, ETH's positive weekly print signals underlying resilience and demand within its ecosystem. The biggest Ethereum story tied into this week's trending list, Athena, the synthetic dollar protocol built around ETH-based collateral and yield strategies. Athena's growing prominence highlights the continued innovation happening on Ethereum's rails, particularly around stable value products and yield generation. Layer 2 networks continued to absorb transaction volume, keeping mainnet fees manageable and improving the user experience across DeFi applications. Staking activity remained healthy, with ETH continuing to serve as the backbone collateral for a wide range of protocols. The relative strength of ETH versus BTC this week is worth watching closely. Historically, ETH outperformance can precede broader altcoin rotations. With Athena capturing headlines and the Layer 2 ecosystem maturing, Ethereum's fundamental narrative remains compelling. Traders should keep an eye on whether ETH can hold above the 1,850 zone and build toward reclaiming $900. Now for the winners, and this week's clear champion among the majors was BNB, which surged 5.1% over the 7-day period to reach $588.86. That's a standout performance in a week where Bitcoin actually declined, demonstrating meaningful relative strength and capital rotation into the BNB ecosystem. Even with a minor 0.7% pullback in the last 24 hours, BNB's weekly gain dwarfed everything else in the top tier and signals confidence in its underlying exchange and chain activity. Ethereum also earned a spot on the winners board with its 1.0% weekly gain, outperforming Bitcoin's 1.1% decline. Beyond the majors, the trending list tells the rotation story. Athena and pudgy penguins both captured trader attention, suggesting capital is hunting for higher beta opportunities and fresh narratives. The key question is sustainability. BNB's move appears healthy and orderly rather than a speculative blow-off, which increases the odds it can hold. When a coin outperforms during a down week for Bitcoin, it often reflects genuine conviction. Watch whether BNB can build on this and whether the trending tokens translate attention into lasting price momentum. On the downside, the biggest underperformer among our tracked majors was Bitcoin itself, sliding 1.1% over the week and 2.5% in the last 24 hours. That late week weakness was the most pronounced daily drop among the major assets, and it dragged overall market sentiment lower heading into the weekend. Ethereum, while positive on the week, also felt the pressure with a 2.3% 24-hour decline, showing that the entire market caught a short-term chill. The stablecoins USDT and USDC were flat by design, so the real relative weakness was concentrated in Bitcoin's inability to hold gains. What went wrong? This looks like classic profit-taking and consolidation, rather than any fundamental breakdown. There were no major hacks or negative catalysts driving forced selling. Instead, Bitcoin's stall reflects traders rotating into relative outperformers like BNB and chasing trending narratives. When the market leader underperforms, it can signal either a healthy pause before continuation or the early stages of a deeper correction. The lack of panic in stablecoins suggests this is more digestion than distress. Still, cautious traders should respect Bitcoin's short-term weakness and manage risk accordingly. Turning to the headlines that shaped the week, the trending narrative was dominated by three names: Athena, Bitcoin, and pudgy penguins. Athena's continued rise reflects growing appetite for synthetic dollar products and on-chain yield, a theme that's been building momentum throughout the year as investors seek sustainable returns in a range-bound market. The protocol's prominence underscores how DeFi innovation keeps pulling attention and capital even when spot prices stall. Bitcoin trending despite its 1.1% weekly decline shows that institutional and retail interest remains firmly intact. Attention doesn't always follow price, and sustained engagement often precedes the next major move. Meanwhile, pudgy penguins trending signals a resurgence of interest in blue-chip NFT brands and their expanding presence across gaming, merchandise, and consumer culture. On the stablecoin front, USDT and USDC, holding their pegs perfectly at $1, reflects a healthy, well-functioning liquidity backbone with no stress in the system. Regulatory chatter and institutional positioning continued in the background, but this week's story was really about narrative rotation. The market is searching for its next leader, and these trending names are early clues to where capital may flow next. This week offered plenty to discuss on the DeFi and NFT front. In DeFi, Athena stole the spotlight as one of the top trending assets, reinforcing the growing dominance of synthetic dollar and yield-bearing protocols within the Ethereum ecosystem. Its rise suggests total value locked continues shifting toward products that offer sustainable, structured yield rather than pure speculation. Ethereum's positive 1.0% weekly performance provided a supportive backdrop for DeFi activity, with Layer 2 networks continuing to handle growing transaction volumes and keep costs low for users interacting with lending, staking, and stablecoin protocols. On the NFT side, pudgy penguins trending is a significant signal. This blue-chip collection has evolved far beyond profile pictures into a genuine consumer brand spanning toys, gaming, and mainstream partnerships. Renewed attention here often marks a broader revival in NFT sentiment and can spill over into other collections and Web3 gaming projects. The combination of Athena representing cutting-edge DeFi and pudgy penguins representing NFT mainstream adoption paints a picture of a maturing Web3 ecosystem. Both trends suggest that even in a flat price week, builders and communities are driving real engagement and laying groundwork for the next cycle. Looking ahead, several things deserve your attention. First, watch Bitcoin's key technical levels. After closing at $63,197 with a 1.1% weekly decline, the 63,000 zone becomes critical support, while a reclaim of higher resistance would signal renewed strength. A decisive break either way could dictate the market's direction. Second, keep an eye on BNB after its impressive 5.1% weekly surge to 588.86 cents. Can it hold these gains and continue leading, or will it cool off and give back ground? Third, Ethereum's ability to defend the $1,850 area and push toward $1,900 will be a key tell for whether altcoin strength persists. On the narrative front, monitor whether Athena and pudgy penguins can convert trending attention into sustained momentum. Macro-wise, stay alert to any Fed commentary and economic data that could shift risk sentiment across all assets. Token unlocks and scheduled protocol events can also inject volatility, so check calendars for your holdings. As always, this is not financial advice. Cryptocurrency is highly volatile, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always do your own research before making decisions. So what did this week teach us? The biggest lesson is the power of rotation. While Bitcoin dipped 1.1% and looked uninspiring, BNB quietly delivered a 5.1% gain, proving that opportunity exists even in flat or bearish weeks for the market leader. Investors who fixated only on Bitcoin missed the relative strength playing out elsewhere. The second takeaway is that attention often diverges from price. Bitcoin trended heavily despite falling, reminding us that engagement and interest can build beneath the surface before price responds. Third, narratives matter. Athena and pudgy penguins trending shows how DeFi innovation and NFT brands continue to attract capital and community, and staying aware of these themes can position you early. A common mistake this week was panic reacting to the 2.5% daily Bitcoin drop. Zooming out to the 7-day view revealed a far calmer, more consolidated picture. What worked was patience, diversification, and watching for relative strength. The actionable insight: don't chase, stay informed, respect key levels, and let the market show its hand. Range-bound weeks reward preparation over impulsive trading. Position thoughtfully, manage risk, and keep your emotions in check. That's a wrap on this week's crypto recap from Aurelian Wealth. If you found this breakdown useful, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss next week's episode. Drop your predictions for next week in the comments. Where do you see Bitcoin and BNB heading? Let's discuss below.